Hello, it's been a minute, but what is up? It's your boy, JNW Boss in the building. We are back here for another edition of JNW versus the World, where we scour the globe and see what the universe has to offer. And right now, for the first time in a year, over a year, I'm back here with J Dogg, because apparently you can't keep a good connection down. How you doing, bro? Doing good?
Damn right, man. I'm happy to be here with you, man. I know I love doing these commentary. We've actually lately done, I think, one show that I still haven't put out. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
We did connect with that, but we've been talking about doing this for a long time, and I'm just excited, man. I love having conversations with you, and to break kayfabe or whatever. Like, I don't hate you and you don't annoy me. That's all part of the show, and I just appreciate you as a buddy, man, and as a person. You're a good dude.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Thank you very much. In that regard, a lot.
It's been a long time.
a lot has happened. What's been going on in your personal life without marrying you, Joe, or without getting into?
Oh, look at you! You're already asking me. You know what? You're gonna start annoying me.
Maybe.
Oh man, no, but that's what I love, man. I love these shows that you've had. I heard the one with Cole was fantastic. Other shows you've had, I love it. I love this concept, and we've talked about that, and we could get into it later. But about podcast ideas that I've had, and trying to get back into universe mode, which I love, and I love having fun with it. But a lot of stuff has happened in my personal life, and again, without getting. I want to be genuine. I want to be real. I feel like I always am. That's not just part of the J Dogg character, but that's who I am. I like to be real and genuine, but a lot of times I've had to learn how to keep certain things private, and you need to keep certain things private and for the protection of your loved ones and yourself as well. And I think some things are nobody's business, but over the last year I've gone through a year and a half now. I mean, we've all gone through COVID. Work has been on and off and changing schedules, and that I'm finally doing well. I'm working from home, so I appreciate that. I really love that, so I'm doing good in that area. But I went through a lot of life changes, man. I went through a divorce this past year, and even though I'm the one that initiated, I'm the one that wanted to do it, it's still a life-changing situation, and becoming a single father and having to navigate that, and my relationship with my kids, and things are great now, but it's been a learning process, navigating a new relationship. So, and on top of that, just trying to stay on top of my health, and it's been a lot, man, and I'm still trying to navigate through the waters, but I feel like I'm in a much better place than I was even a month ago or 2 months ago. So there you go, man. And all that I've allowed that. I'm not going to use that as an excuse, because I can still focus on myself and do what I love. But I have allowed those things, and rightfully so, not an excuse, things that are happening, but I've allowed that to stop me from doing what I love and what I like. And this is some of the stuff, and people say, hey, what would you do, is a big question, right? You know what you love to do. If you tell somebody, what would you do if money wasn't the issue? If you had all the money in the world, what would you be doing? And I'm like, dude, if I'd be a millionaire and I'd be sitting somewhere not having to work, I'd still be sitting here talking to you. I'd be doing this. I'd be podcasting, talking about wrestling, talking about life, and I have so many ideas and things I want to do, and I haven't done it. And I don't want to put the excuse of what's happened in the last year and a half, because for my whole life I've been on and off and not consistent enough to do things. So I want to hopefully continue to be, I want to be consistent, man, and I have started to work on universe mode, as you've seen, so I want to come back, and people have seen that I've brought out a couple of episodes the last year and a half. I think I've done two maybe, and now I've worked on other ones, so I've tried to come back, but since I can't give it the full attention that it deserves, or that I want to do it, I stop and I come back, until I'm ready again. But I'm trying to put myself out there, man. I have a lot of, like I said, podcast ideas and universe mode. I've worked on ECW episode lately that's going to come out shortly, and I'm working on WCW Bash at the Beach, right? That's the word, yeah, Bash at the Beach, and that's almost completed as well. So I've been putting in some of the work, and I want to get into a lot more podcasting and stuff. So there you go, man.
That's been that's great to hear, man. I mean, even with some of the setback that you kind of just mentioned there, great to see that you're doing well, that you're doing what you can. And this year really been
as good
reflective.
as I can,
You're right, I mean, don't that rock with everybody though? I mean, you know.
But that's fine, man. Yeah, man. You know, we all want to be happy all the time, but that ain't life, man. You can't.
Right, man,
you have to be at peace with being sad at times, with being angry, being frustrated, with not having your best days. Yeah. You got to be, you know. I'm sorry, I'm preaching now, but you got to be okay with that. You got to be okay with that. We're not always going to be happy, but true happiness, I'm sorry to sound like a Hallmark card or whatever, but true happiness comes from within. So all those circumstances, all that, yeah, it affects me, but true happiness comes from inside, man. And when you get in touch with that and, you know, just do what you love and feel aligned, like that's the key there.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. We've been this crazy, you know, year and a half, I gotta say. Pretty freaking cool, you know, that we get to finally, at long last, you know, just sit down and do this and do flashback on ECW. So you'll be hearing that fun little chemistry because we got interesting up in there.
Yes.
I can promise you that much. Man. And speaking of commentary, we've done. I've probably called more shows with you than I've called with probably anyone on YouTube, for real. Between ECW and you really joining me since like the start of ALR and everything. I
feel privileged.
Yeah, I gotta mention this real quick too. I mean, you mentioned reflection, you've mentioned improving and everything, and we're gonna get into, you know, your personal thing as well. But you kind of mentioned reflection and everything. And, you know, we've talked a little bit about this, you know, off here for breaking kayfabe, but then again, we don't really use kayfabe on this podcast. But anyways, we don't.
Exactly.
We don't. So, you know, we kind of talk about.
I mean, I don't do that a lot. We've done it when we podcast and stuff, but we're still a little bit. I still stay a little bit in like that J Dogg character. So you know, you're getting. You know, you're getting the man behind the J Dogg character, the genuineness today, man. I'm gonna give you that.
Right, and cool, and that you know that kind of what I was hoping for. But you talk about reflection and things of that nature, and we've both done and said some wild stuff on commentary.
Good transition.
Not a problem. Has your reflection over the past year changed? Some of that? Have you maybe thought about some of that stuff over the past year?
I felt like I've grown a lot, and I've grown a lot not because I'm doing so much different things or I'm a different person, but I've grown a lot because I have self-reflected on my own values, my own morals, you know, what I want to live, how I want to live in integrity with myself, and see if I could put this in the words that I want to convey it so it could come across genuine and
right.
Without getting too personal. But I'm not. I'll just throw it out there, man. I'm not real proud of certain things that I've said when I was, even though I'm in character. And I always wanted to be that character. I mean, growing up, I saw Jerry the King Lawler when I was I guess a teenager going on to like 18, 19, 20. You know, I was in that stage of my life and I was very rebellious. And so Jerry the King Lawler, the stuff that he said and Over the Top and Bobby the Brain Heenan back in the day when I was a kid, I didn't even know how bad the things he said. If you go back, you're like, some of these things will not fly on television today. And for good reason. I'm going to say, look, first I'm going to say I'm not for censorship. If any, I want anybody to say whatever they want. I think we were talking off the air the other day, and I mentioned like Howard Stern. Not everybody's cup of tea. They wanted to censor his ass a long time ago. I'm like, no, leave him on the air, man. If you like him, listen. If you don't. And you know, just like burning books back in the day and all this thing. I don't want to have that. I believe in freedom. I believe in non-censorship. But we can all individually say, hey, I want to be part of this or not. I want to bring more light. I want to bring more positivity, or I want to be part of the problem kind of thing. And I felt like me wanting to push the envelope and be that Jerry Lawler, be that Bobby Heenan, and be in that character. I said a lot of sexual innuendos and towards some of the character. Again, characters are video game characters. I'm not saying that and I'm in character. I'm not excusing myself, but it is what it is. Right. I saw a lot of sexual innuendos that I thought could be funny and push that envelope. And I even called in one of the episodes that I was aligned with one of the female wrestlers and cheering for her and had like a business relationship or whatever, and then the other and then the other girl like beat her, the other woman wrestler beat her or something. So I was in character and I'm like, oh, you dumb bitch, and I called her that, and it was like, I'm sorry to say, I want to say it because I want to be honest what I said, and I said things like that, and looking back, I'm like, man, like I get why some people would think it's funny, and maybe even I thought it was funny at the moment because again, I'm in character, I'm pressing that envelope, but even back then, like there was something with that and other things that I was doing in my life that didn't feel aligning, and they didn't feel aligning because they didn't resonate with like who I felt like being inside, like who I was at my core, and a lot of those things always kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. But I was no, I gotta press that envelope, I gotta push that envelope, and I wanted that quote unquote shock value, right? I wanted that shock value. I wanted a response from people. Oh my God, look at J Dogg, he's saying all these crazy things, and you talk about reflection, man, and I'm gonna be completely honest, and this is something, man, if I could give anything to anybody who's hearing, because I know a lot of younger people hear this stuff, and if they could see that younger and get, I'm 42 years old, I'll say it, and if I learned the things that I know now, reflect on things that I knew now when I was back 20, man, I'd be way ahead of the game. So if anybody sees that, it's like I reflected and I said, man, why do I need that response? Why do I feel like I need to press the envelope? Why do I need to feel like I need to say these outlandish things or crazy things sometimes, go over the top? And it's because even though I have a lot of confidence and I've accomplished some things in my life which needs confidence and strength, and I do have that, but at the same time I have a lot of insecurities, man, and that's the hard part for us to be reflective about. And my insecurities, I want to be seen, I want to be heard, and so I go over the top to get a reaction, and that's not just been on YouTube, that's been a lot of my life. I was the class clown, I had to be the clown in the office at work, and then what happened, I need to do that because at times I don't feel worthy. I don't feel worthy, and I don't feel like I'm good enough certain times, and just needing those reactions, and then just reflecting on it now. I'm like, man, just go back. I'm telling everybody, go back. That's the hard part. It's the hard part to say those things. Even as I'm saying it, that's why I got caught up and choked up a little bit now, because even just saying those things, it's really hard. And it's hard because our ego doesn't want to allow us to say those things. Like, what are you talking about? Why are you talking bad about yourself? But I had to do all those things to feel better. And now when I'm commentating, or now when I did these videos, like it feels natural. Like I don't feel like I'm holding back because I'm not going so over the top. The last few times that I've done these videos, I don't feel that. I feel a lot, I feel like that breath of fresh air. I don't need to be this person. I could have fun, but I don't need to go there.
Right.
So just to wrap it up, I guess just all of you guys, just live with your truth, and live in integrity. If you have some core values and some core beliefs, and you have this integrity, like don't act in a certain way like I did. I did that, whether in person, like I said, so it was hard for me to get respect at my office, or people to see me, and then I'm crying, man, why haven't they moved me up? Why am I not in a management position? Well, it's because you acted like a jackass. You were playing around and you joked around in this way, but people saw you as this quote unquote clown, and they liked you. They liked that, and that's what I got. Oh, I'm liked. Wait, yay, I'm liked, and I make people laugh. But at the same time, I didn't get the respect that I wanted, and the respect that I felt inside that I deserve and that I needed, because I wasn't respecting myself. And so there you go, man. That's I know I went on a rant there and there, but you opened that envelope, man, and I'm like I said, I'm an open book now about myself again, without getting too personal.
Right.
Just if I again take anything out of that, is I want to live in integrity, man. I don't want, because then sometimes you're going back and like, wow, why are people looking at me this way? Well, it's our fault. It's our fault because we're presenting this side of ourselves, or we're presenting something that we're not really living in our truth and living with our core values inside. And so I've done that, and I know this is not a big deal. I think just me saying these things on a YouTube channel. It's about wrestling characters that are a video game, not even real wrestling. I get that in the big picture it might not be a big deal, but to me it is. And it's just little things like that sometimes make a difference. That little things add up. So it's a little thing here. Oh, I just want to be a clown at work. Oh, I just want to be this. I just want to do that. Little things catch up, and then other people will see you in a different light than you actually see yourself. So I'll stop there, man.
And that's
I hope that answers your question.
You answered it and then some. You answered it and then some. And then from my personal perspective, like people have told me to kind of loosen up a bit on commentary, and I do. I loosen up, and then I've said some stuff that I'm like, oh well, probably shouldn't have said that. And I look back on some of the episodes, and there were like some jokes I made. I'm like, ooh, Man, whoo, maybe let's not. But
yeah.
But nonetheless, though, I mean that's kind of the that's kind of that was a good point you brought up, man. I mean we kind of reflect. This year's been a whole lot, been crazy. It's been crazy, but it allows a lot of us to reflect on a lot of things. And you talked about... I think we had it.
That's one thing COVID... I'm sorry to cut you off, but COVID has done that when we were like all inside, we can't go out, we can't talk to people. Like it allows you more time to reflect and say, hey, what am I doing in my life that I don't want to do or want to do, and why am I not doing this? And just to ask questions and be curious about yourself. And it's allowed me a lot more time to do that as well, man. So
Right. That's a cool thing, and
I'm not for censorship, man. I just want to put that out there. I'm not for censorship. This is something like if you want to censor yourself, if you want to do that yourself, then great. But I don't. Anybody else wants to do their YouTube channel, however they want to do it, man. That's on you. That's you.
Yeah, true. And you got to deal with the consequences of whatever you get as a result of the stuff you say.
Ooh.
Me personally,
consequences, big word, man.
I try to keep my universe mode stuff clean,
right?
And lo and behold, I potentially got more people who watch because hey, he's a clean dude, and he's a clean dude. He does good stuff.
They'll watch for the right reasons, man. They're
not
watching for the right reasons. They're not watching because you're going over the top, because you want the shock value, and you can't. I feel like you can't keep that up forever anyway. People see through that bullshit. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. People see through it, and. And we both do this universe mode thing because of the general love that we have for professional wrestling. It all starts from our general love for professional wrestling. So let's start at the top. What got you into pro wrestling?
Ooh, look at you.
I told you, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this, man.
Let me see. I live in Miami now. I was still living in Las Vegas at the time. That's where I was born. I was maybe 9 going to 10 or 10 years old at that time. I had never seen wrestling in my life. I grew up watching cartoons. Back in the day, I'm showing my age, G.I. Joe, Transformers, things like that. A lot of old stuff, man. But I do, Superman, Batman. I loved comics. I was big into comics. Spider-Man was one of my dudes. So I grew up with that. I never watched wrestling, though. And about 9, 10 years old, I believe it was one of my friends. I had a friend from school, if I remember correctly, that told me about that. He told me, hey, it's wrestling. Do you watch it or something? I don't know how the conversation went, but anyway, he introduced me to it. Went home. I think that weekend I saw like my first shows. I don't remember exactly. The first show was probably back in the day. This was 1989, let's say. I started watching.
Black and white back then? Was the TV in black and white back then?
You know what? This is done. I'm going. Yeah. And I talked on those rotary phones too. And exactly. I love it. So I plugged in my black and white TV and I started watching. Again, it was like 1989. It was right after WrestleMania 5, Hulk Hogan versus Macho Man Randy Savage at Trump Plaza.
Yeah.
Remember that good feud? That was a historic feud, and that was a great match. And after that, I didn't see WrestleMania 5, but I started watching it after that. And I saw my first wrestling show. I think it might have been like WWE Superstars or Wrestling Challenge back in the day, where you have the top guys just wrestling a bunch of jabronis and, popping, just building up to the next show. But there was a Saturday night's main event coming up right after that. So that's the first show that sticks to my mind is that Saturday night's main event. I remember clearly the big match was Hulk Hogan, newly crowned champion again, facing the big boss man inside a steel cage. But the first match on the card was Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Ravishing Rick Rude.
Nice.
First match, I believe I'm correct. That's the first match that came on the TV. And I just remember being like, wow, like these guys look larger than life. This is exciting. I saw the crowd into it. Hacksaw Jim Duggan is like over the top. Rick Rude is over the top with his things. And it was like watching like a comic book that I was reading like come to life. And these guys are like superheroes, then you see Hulk Hogan and good versus evil. And I was like, wow. And then the athleticism and the things they did in the ring, I didn't quite understand it yet. I didn't know how, quote unquote, fake, I'm sorry I'm throwing that out there, or scripted it was or it wasn't. I didn't exactly know how much it was, but I was like, wow, like this is this is cool. I just remember saying, this is cool, and I don't know what it is. It's kind of like when you meet a person and you're like, man, I just have this connection with this person, and I can't explain it. It's just this, and it was that love for wrestling. Just from that day forward, I never stopped loving it. It just grew and grew and grew. From that day, I remember seeing that match, again, the colors. I remember, Hacksaw in his blue tights, and Rick Rude, I think, had pink tights or something like that. I don't remember, pink or yellow or something, and he had the warrior painted on him, because he had just won the Intercontinental title too at WrestleMania 5. Mm-hmm. So, and he came out with Bobby Heenan all flashy and everything, and I just saw that, man, and it was so cool. And then the whole show, and I was like, wow. I remember after that Saturday night's main event, I was hooked. I made my mom, we would go a lot to these old video stores, again, showing my age. We rent VHS tapes, pop them in the VCR.
I'm right there with you. Go ahead.
First one that I found was WrestleMania 4. Then I went back inside NC5. I rented WrestleMania 4, and that was the first WrestleMania I ever saw. Mm-hmm. And I popped it in. I saw it 2 or 3 times before we sent it back, and it was just, hey, looking back at it now, not one of the best WrestleManias, but to me, it was fantastic. At that time when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, they're having a world title tournament, and that's when Randy Savage won, and you had Hogan and Andre, the rematch, and it was just awesome. And Demolition, you had the British Bulldogs, you had Brutus Beefcake, the Honky Tonk Man. I became so, and maybe it was that, it was just I loved comics so much, and I loved cartoons and all this stuff, and then just seeing that, I was like, wow, this is real life, cartoons are real life superheroes, and but I got hooked, and the more that went on through the years of me understanding how wrestling worked, I know some people watch it when they're a kid, and they've told me a lot. People watch it when they're a kid, and they grow up, and they're like, oh, when I found out it was fake and how scripted, I stopped watching. True. And I said, man, when I found out how it was scripted and how it worked, I loved it even more.
You got to get more invested. How the world did they do this? That is awesome.
Exactly, and I appreciated more the athleticism and the storytelling and the character development, and I started just enjoying all that and the technical aspect of these matches. I was a Hogan fan growing up and a kid and all that, but I quickly started aligning to guys like Mr. Perfect, guys like Shawn Michaels, Bret the Hitman Hart, and I enjoyed that technical aspect of wrestling a lot more than the big dudes, even though they were a spectacle to watch when I was a kid. But I started aligning more to that and just appreciating them. And like they say, the art of professional wrestling. So
he became a mark at an early age, ladies and gentlemen. He became a modern-day mark at an early age. But that's awesome. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And it's also kind of cool that, the more you grow up, you kind of, especially now with stuff like the Peacock, you can kind of look back on your era, great. Look back on where you grow up and figure out what was great about it, and okay, maybe what was not so great about it at that same time. Right. But let's kind of fast forward here to more.
I'm sorry, man, but you got me there with that question. I did not know this is not scripted. We haven't gone over this. I did not know what question you were going to ask me there, and it's just I love it, man. It brings back memories and a smile on my face of me growing up, and just what wrestling. Some people might find it stupid, but just what wrestling has meant to me,
Yeah, I mean, of course, everybody, wrestling means something to everybody, and with your general love of pro wrestling, it's carried over, and as time goes on, we get more technology, and now we got more ways to watch wrestling, which brings us to this lovely little website called YouTube, and the fact that you now have a YouTube channel. So, let's kind of get into that. When YouTube was, a thing, and I'm sure, you probably started out like most. You're watching it and this, that, and the third. Mm-hmm. And what triggered in your head to say, you know what, I want to do this? And I'm going to tie this into a different question. What got you to do YouTube, and did your love of watching wrestling just in general or growing up shape the thing that you decided to do on YouTube? So what inspired you, and did your love of wrestling automatically play a part in what you were going to do? Loaded question.
Good freaking question. Because there's a lot there, man. I could go now. You're gonna get me going for another half an hour. One thing I have to work on too, and I've been self-reflected, is my long-windedness. But to answer shortly, yes, of course, it's influenced it. How did it start? How did it influence me? I don't remember how I got into watching YouTube. I mean, I guess like anybody else, watching stupid videos, and I used it a lot to listen to music as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I ran into, I think I was working already. I was working the overnight shift. I would do a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift, and I had a lot of downtime, so I would watch a lot of movies, or whatever wrestling I could get. And that's what I started watching, because I would watch. This is before WWE Network, and now Peacock. Yeah. So I started try to watch old wrestling matches on YouTube.
Yep.
And I started playing at the same time I got into WWE. I believe it was, I don't think it was 2K at the time. I think it was WWE 12 or something like that. If you maybe remember clearly that it was Randy Orton, I think, was in the cover.
Yep, that was WWE 12. Yep, that was WWE 12.
WWE 12. So I bought that game, and I remember playing it, and I was like, wow, like, this is cool. Like, I hadn't enjoyed a wrestling game in a long time. I know that you're a fan of SmackDown versus Raw, or SmackDown Bring the Pain, or something it was called. I forget now.
Here comes the pain.
There you go. Here comes the pain. Thanks for correcting me. Mm-hmm. And I guess maybe because at that time I was already like, I was doing other things. I was growing up. I was in my 20s. Even though I always loved playing video games, I got away from the wrestling games, and I started playing just a bunch of sports games like Madden and NBA was a big thing, NBA Live, and then NBA 2K. I was huge into that, playing with my buddies. So I didn't really play wrestling a lot. I remember loving No Mercy. No Mercy was the last one that I played. I played those No Mercy games in WrestleMania 2000. Before that, I loved it, man. I played those games to death, and that's where the creative juices came out. Let me rewind a little bit, and then I'll go. Those creative juices were there, man, where I was creating, and it allowed you to create these pay-per-views and alter the characters and create your characters. So I would do these storylines in my mind. I wasn't putting it on YouTube or for anybody else, but for my own entertainment, I'm creating these stories. I'm like, I'm going to book better than WWE, so my booking, my creativity would come out, and my creative juices would come out. I'm like, man, rewind even earlier when I started watching wrestling, 10, 11 years old, and I think I put this in my description of my channel or something. It all started, man, with a cardboard box and some G.I. Joe figures.
Nice.
Because the wrestling figures back then were these rubber things that did not move. Their limbs didn't move at all.
I had some of those growing up. No, man, no.
Right. So you can't do these wrestling moves and stuff. So these G.I. Joes had joints, like they could move their arm. I mean, the moves looked good. So me and my best buddy, when we were growing up, we started playing. I did it on my own first, and he was doing it too. So we started playing together with these things, man, and just creating our own universe. We created guys through the G.I. Joe figures. We named them like for our classmates. We gave all these crazy names. And we stole some names from TV. We're young, so you steal someone. Was called the Human Wrecking Machine, like I think Zeus was at the time. Mm-hmm. We called ourselves the Mega Powers. I think my name at the time was Mega Man. Oh, man, that's old school.
You would have got sued.
Yeah, exactly. I got sued. I got that from the video game. So I'm like, we stole everything. We would have been sued so many times, but we're kids. We're not putting it out there. Yeah. But anyway, it started with them, and I actually got a cardboard. But before I then got an actual ring, a toy wrestling ring. And that was like, that was the best toy ever to me at that time, and maybe ever before I got into video games. Greatest toy I ever got was that. Before that, I was doing it, man, with a cardboard box, and I painted like the ropes, the ring. I painted all that, man. I made my own wrestling ring. Yep, made my own wrestling ring, man, and I would play on that. So even at a young age, at 10, I was already like loving the creative side of it, because I would create storylines. I would create matches, like, how's the match going to end? How are they going to start? So all that started when I was 10 years old. So when I started doing it on YouTube, it came very easy to me. There's other things that didn't come, that I had to figure out, how to upload, how to do, but that creative part came very easy with me for what I started early when I was 10 years old, and then when I started with No Mercy when I was, I think, 18, 19, and I was doing that with the video game. And then, fast forward again to where I left off, WWE 12 started playing that, then WWE 13 came out. That was with CM Punk, and that one was great. Besides, what I hated from that game, that they always kicked out at 1 or 3.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
God.
That
bothered
me up the wall.
The hell out of me when you're playing the computer. But anyway, because I was still playing me versus the computer at that time, and I wasn't creating anything yet. But then that's the time I started watching. And I would say here, the first guy I started watching, I think, was Tony Pizza Guy. Hey. And he was doing his universe mode thing, and I'm like, man, this is really cool. I'm like, but then I looked at it, and I'm like, this guy's doing, I'm like, I could do a better job than this guy. And again, it's not my cocking. It's just like I have been doing this so long since I was a little kid, and I felt like I had a knack for it and I had this creativity. I'm like, man, I could do better stories than him and get better feuds and put better matches. I'm like, get out of here. So I started seeing, then I just started following him more and seeing it, and then I started seeing the Murphs of the world and Math Wiz and these guys started doing Brandon Plays. God, Brandon Plays is so boring. I'm sorry. Anyway, let me not get into that. Let's stick to this. Wait for ECW to come out, ladies and gentlemen. Cole, if you're listening to it, man, you're going to love that. Anyway, so where was I? Yes, so then I started watching all those videos. I said, man, I could do this, but I didn't know the logistics of how to do it. I didn't put it all together. And then I got WWE 2K14 on the PlayStation 3, and that's when I started at least sharing my stuff. I recorded some of the videos with my phone. I started recording a little bit of highlights. I started taking pictures, and I had a Facebook page, and I exchanged with a couple more people on there that were kind of doing that too. And we just exchanged pictures back and forth, and I kind of had like a little, you know, we followed each other's like universe mode in the game.
Yeah.
So that was the origins of universe mode, came in WWE 2K14, and that game was my favorite. I think it's still my favorite wrestling game of all time.
That game is
WWE
awesome.
2K14, best wrestling game of all time. I still have it. I should maybe one of these days I'll start a universe mode in that. But anyway, cool. So that's where it started, man. And I started doing that, and then eventually I got the PS4, and from there I started just doing it directly from the PS4, loading it on YouTube. And I'm like, why not, man? I'm like, all these people are doing it, and I did it. And I got into it because of that, because those creative juices that were coming out. I'm like, man, I need to do more with it. I need to do more. It feels good. I was struggling at that time with some anxiety and sleep issues and stuff with my schedule, so I needed to do it for my mental health as well, to focus on something I wanted to do, let those creative juices out and interact, and it gave me that platform, man. And I was just like, look, I would it be fun to grow? Would it be fun to make money on this? Hell yeah. But I didn't do it with that reason. I said, man, I just want to get it out there. I just want to be creative and connect with people like yourself. And then we connected, and let's collaborate and let's do more stuff. And it was just fun, man. It was, at the end of the day, it's fun. And that's my passion, wrestling. Like you said at the beginning, it's that passion of wrestling that we have, and that creative mind that I have and that I have to express out. And so it allowed me to do that, and then it allowed me to do the commentary, which I enjoyed, and I would do all the time, going back to 10 years old, playing with my G.I. Joes. I would commentate my own damn matches to myself. My mom would tell me, "You're crazy, you're talking to yourself," you know, and I'm like, yeah. And I would do it kind of low, so, you know, my mom, my sister wouldn't think that I'm fucking crazy. So I just started, like, you know, just commentary. Oh my God, he 1, 2, 3, and I'm like, real low. So
I've been there.
man. So if that answers your question, there you go. If you have any other questions of what I said, go ahead. But that's basically how I got it started there, why I did it, and the love of wrestling, my creativity, and just my mental health at the moment. And honestly, now that's why I want to get back into it and do this podcasting, because I think it helps a lot of that. It calm a lot of anxieties and just have more peace, I guess, you know, and clarity in my life.
Cool, that's a good thing, and that's a good thing. You talk about, you know, doing this universe mode stuff. You've been doing it for a good minute now, and once you if you take a look over at the channel, you notice it's a little bit different than what you're used to. He does 3 shows. What you typically see Raw, SmackDown, NXT. On his channel, you'll see Monday Night Raw, ECW, WCW. Here's my question. First, why 3 shows? 2, why those 3 specifically? Because you and I both talked off air, 3 shows, good Lord. Why those 3 shows? Why those 3 shows, really?
3 shows is because I'm crazy. That's the short answer, and I'm stupid.
Anyone that's willing to do 3 shows, run 3 now. It's not worth it.
If I don't do it. If I had the time and I could sit here and just do that alone, like, great, let me do the 3 shows. But looking back on it now, I would have left it at, I would have even started with just 1. And then maybe if I had the time, kick it to 2 shows the most.
Right.
Why did I do it? Because I followed the formula that I was doing on WWE 2K14 when I started. And I played that game for about 3 years, I think, before I got WWE 2K17. I skipped out on 15 and 16. So when I got 17, I had been playing 14 for about 3 years, creating my universe mode there. And I started with, I think it was Raw. I did WCW, I think, from the beginning. So it was Raw, Nitro, and then I had NXT, and NXT was what it is, like the developmental brand at the moment. I would move guys up.
You did start with NXT, right?
Yeah, but then it became. But then I made ECW. I kind of had the idea, and I put ECW out there. So I was did I do ECW? I don't remember. Now I'm lying. I don't remember if I did. I don't. Yeah, I don't think I did. No, I didn't, because I ended that show with NXT, Nitro, and Raw. So I did end with those. I always did that. I wanted to be different. I didn't want to. I was bored with the whole Raw and SmackDown thing, and I wanted to have two actual separate companies instead of having just these shows where it's like back and forth. And I don't know. I didn't really like that idea. I know you grew up with it, but that brand split, like if it's done well and taken seriously, it could be good if it's really run like separate shows, and I think it was for a while when they first started doing it. And it makes sense.
Great with it at first, but then over time it just filled out and nothing.
Right. Look, and it was cool. Like for WrestleMania, I remember when they did that. Then WrestleMania, you got these like interbrand matches. You had like at WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle. I think Shawn Michaels was on Raw, Angle on SmackDown.
Yeah.
They had their little thing at the Royal Rumble. So then they started attacking each other in each show, and you had a big dream match at WrestleMania. It works in that way, but I just said that, and then being old school, like I kind of grew up with Nitro and Raw and the Monday Night Wars, and I'm like, okay, I didn't want to relive the Monday Night Wars, so to say. I wanted to make my own WCW and WWE. If you see it now, people know my channel. It's like I have Stone Cold on WCW, you know, I have Sting in WWE, so I'm not reliving that, but I'm having them as separate entities, and they could have trades and things like that. And ECW, I thought was fun, man. It was a fun idea. Like I got them like, I'm kind of bored with the NXT thing. Like, let me do something different too. I'm like, let me bring back ECW, you know. And I had that whole storyline of I destroyed NXT in the first NXT pay-per-view. I had Paul Heyman just have a financial backer who I still haven't disclosed who it is. Financial backer that kind of bought out NXT and everybody's contract and brought back ECW, and he stole Brock Lesnar from McMahon, and the rest is history, as they say.
I had to do, full disclosure, I had to do my, I don't think I've ever said on camera how the heck I found your channel in the first place.
Okay.
I haven't, so here's the chance. So, the way I found this guy was literally YouTube kept recommending his ECW video. I think it was the one where like Eric Young, it was like I think it was Eric Young versus Brock in the main event. I can't remember. It was like either Eric Young or Killian Dane. One of those two was in the main event against Brock. And I kept getting
maybe it could have been both. It could have been either one. Because they both did it back-to-back weeks, I think. Right.
But I remember I kept getting recommended to do stuff, and I'm like, okay, I kind of look cool, but I'm going to keep scrolling and keep doing my own thing. And literally almost every day I pulled up freaking YouTube, I kept seeing that video. I'm like, fine, YouTube, fine, I'll watch it. Goodness. And I'm glad I did. Because this dude, I thought it was funny, I thought it was entertaining, and I could tell it was on PS4 because like some of the prompts and stuff I saw. I'm like, oh, cool, I could probably see if I could have him do it on PS4, and we did, and started talking and stuff. And that's how I ended up on ECW, and as part of my research, because I always like to ask, is there anything I needed to watch? Cause by the time we both agreed, hey, let's do commentary together. I actually had to ask him. I said, yo, is there any show you want me to watch or research or whatever? Because I was already, because after ECW, I started watching stuff. He said, yeah, watch NXT TakeOver the End. I'm like, cool with me. Yeah. And I watched it. It went pretty well. It was cool. It worked well. It was cool.
Well, and, side note, yeah, I was still doing versus the computer. I wasn't doing myself with two controllers at the time.
Now, what smartened you up to do two controllers? Now, let me ask that question real fast. What smartened you up in that way you decided to do two controllers? That way everybody can know why player versus AI is not the best idea. Why did you decide to switch to two controllers?
Man, with player versus AI, I mean, there are sometimes that you can get a decent match, but you can't tell a story. You can't.
Listen.
It's really, I'm going to say can't, but it's really, really difficult, and that's why I don't appreciate what Brandon Plays does. Because you can't tell a story unless you're going to present it as more of a sports thing, and you're going to, have have it more of a sports element. But if you're going to tell a wrestling match, you want to tell a story. And again, you want to go back to my channel and you'll watch AJ Styles versus Shawn Michaels. You watch Triple H Rock. You watch all these other matches that I've done, Brock Lesnar matches. I want to tell a story. And to tell that story, you can't do it like that. And I felt limited. I felt like I was waiting, like I would have 2 or 3 or 4 matches that were like, okay. And then I finally had, I have a good one that ended well. Awesome. And I didn't want that. I wanted full creative control, if you might add. And you were one that helped me that. I mean, I would always see what Murphs did and Mathwiz, and I'd be like, wow. And I would watch their videos, how they did it with 2 players. And I'm like, man, this sounds, it's a little difficult. Do I really want to do this, or do I want to keep it simple? But my creative side just came out and said, man, I can't continue to do it like this. I need to at least try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I need at least to try it and see. And I'm like, if these people can do it, why can't I? And I know when we started talking, you said you always did it that way, and you had done it that way for a long time, and that it wasn't so difficult. You actually gave me more confidence to be able to do it. And I'm like, okay, thanks, and let me try it out. And I remember it was you. And I'm like, okay, let me try it out. And I forgot what was I think King of the Ring was maybe my first pay-per-view that I did. That I did it all that way, I think it was, or I did some matches that way. I think some of the matches I did. I know I did the main event like that, and I was like, okay. I think I did it in that way. I didn't do the whole show, but I did like a match or 2 that I started doing. And after I did it and I saw how it came out, I'm like, I'm hooked. I'm never doing me versus the AI again. Like, I'm gonna stick to this, whether it's a crappy match, a jobber, whatever it is, because I could tell the story that I want to tell.
I will never go back to the dark side. I refuse.
Never. God. And thank you. Thanks for kind of holding my hand through that and like, hey, it's okay. You know, it's not as hard as you'll get used to it. And I'm like, okay. And I started doing it. And
forgot that conversation. So full disclosure, I did not ask that question because I knew he was going to say that. I legit did not know, and I legit forgot that.
Yeah, no, it was you, man. It was, I mean, you, and of course watching Mathwiz, especially and Murphs do it, and they had some videos on how they did it as well. And I had seen those before, but I just wanted to get out there, and I was so used to doing it that way and having, like, you know, good matches on 2K14 and that I'm like, I can get away with this, and let me just do it this way for a while. But man, as soon as I started talking to you and I saw that you were doing that too, and you were telling me how it was and that it wasn't that difficult, and I'm like, let's do it. And now I've done it with 3 or 4 controllers.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
There we go. See?
Yeah.
Hey, gentlemen, if you're going to do this universe mode stuff, controller versus controller is the way to go. Or if you can even get a friend involved.
I appreciate that question, but I think it's kind of self-explanatory. Why would you do? I mean, if anybody tells me that the other way is better, I don't know. I mean, I'll respectfully disagree with you.
Yeah, I mean, hey, there are still people out there who will do it. There are people out there who, I mean, not just him, but you know, whatever. There are still people out there who will still do this thing, and so
lazy bastard. Oh, there's a J Dogg. He came out.
God dang it. Anyway, let's the question I'm going to ask, kind of diving into the match versus match thing. Full disclosure, I do not agree with the statement that was made, but this dude just about 5 seconds ago, because I don't watch Brandon play. Moving forward, anyway.
I haven't watched him in a long time either. I don't even know. I wish him the best.
Yeah.
There you go. I wish him the best.
It's all good. Anyway, speaking of kind of doing the controller thing, match versus match. With you growing up old school, with that old school wrestling, this is kind of tying in. I mean, this question can actually vary among a while of things. The matches, how you present it, all this stuff. With you growing up old school, with old school wrestling, how did you take this change in style to this new school formula and apply it to your universe mode? So basically, with growing up old school, with you kind of going with this old school format of Raw, ECW, WCW, but you do a lot of new school elements, how are you able to apply that to your universe mode?
Well, this is news to me because I don't know how much of that new school element I do. I know you do it a lot. I see your matches. If you're talking about like a faster paced match, you're talking about Young Bucks and Kenny Omega type of matches where, you know, what we see nowadays, the new school. I've done some of them. You're right. I've done, but even, yeah, I think I have, because I think even that big match that I remember, like Kenny Omega versus Adam Cole, I think that
both of them.
both of them are pretty much new school, where it's just a back and forth and beating the hell out of each other. And for those who don't know, the old school formula, and that I have used in some of my matches, is a little slower pace at times. At least that's especially in the middle of the matches. Like, you want to start a little hot, and I always start with like, hey, the good guy, the face, whatever you want to call it, wrestling terms, the baby face that they used back in the day. The face always gets on top at the beginning of the match, over the heel, showing that he is superior, that he's he's a superior athlete, or he's the good guy, so he gets the crowd going. Bad guy cuts him off, the heel cuts him off, then the heel takes over, the heel starts beating on him. The face makes a little comeback, gets cut off, makes another comeback, gets cut off, eventually makes his big comeback and either wins, or the heel does some dastardly stuff and wins. That's basically the pro wrestling formula that has worked for a long time, and especially back in the day, and has gotten that crowd and taken him in that roller coaster. So I use some of that. I still have that in mind when I'm doing the wrestling, and sometimes I feel like sometimes it's difficult because I want to do... Yeah, I want to do more of the new school stuff. So I'm like, sometimes I feel like if I'm going too back and forth, like I'm not true to myself, or I'm not being true to the art of wrestling. But it works, and it's fun when it's back and forth. And I've noticed that I do that some matches, and I don't know. You tell me, you've watched my stuff and you've done it with me. Is it more of the old school thing, or is there a way? I'm not even judging myself. Do I mix it up more than I think I do, or do I stick more to the old school, or am I transitioning more to new school and doing back and forth? And again, it's a video game, so it's you want to do it a little more fast paced.
Yeah. From my observation, and it really, for you, I've noticed it kind of depends on who you're using. Like, I've seen you kind of go more of that new school style with guys like a Finn Balor, AJ Styles, right, even a Bray Wyatt to a certain extent. So, like, with you, it really depends on who you're using, and I've seen you even kind of do that back and forth style with some of your older guys, with like a Nash or a Stone Cold, or right. Yeah, I figured personally, to a certain extent, I kind of thought Triple H versus Rock was kind of that same vibe a little bit at points during that match.
You thought it was old new school, or
a little bit? Yeah, like at a certain point during that match. I still thought it was a good match. I thought it was a good match nonetheless. But even with
too long, but it was a good match. I mean, it told the story, but it was too long.
Okay, I mean that's your opinion. I thought the length was fine. I actually wasn't bothered with it.
Really? It was almost like 50 minutes. I think it took like 45, 50 minutes. That match.
There was some stuff I told you that I'm like, I saw what you were doing. The creative side of me, like, I saw what you were trying to do. I'm like, move on. Right. But that really
again, just to tell everybody, that match was and I mean, go back, the Money in the Bank, I thought was one of my best shows of telling multiple stories at the same time, and having like a continuation with the Ted DiBiase thing, and then the story of Rock and Triple H was a story because it was Loser Leaves Town, like, loser, old school used to call it that Loser Leaves Town match. Yeah. So I felt like I had to make it quote unquote epic, and it had to be that long, but looking back at it now, I could have cut it at least 10 minutes, something like that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought that's funny because those are two older school guys, but I did do more of the back and forth thing. Yeah, I did a lot of that especially at the end of the match, I guess. Yeah, but it was slow. It was a little slow paced at times, where they just, I think.
Sure. Fair enough. And I guess speaking of roster, we kind of just mentioned Triple H and Rock. One of the kind of glaring elephants in the room that we all kind of think about, and I think I may have asked you this question off camera, but I guess here's the chance to answer it on camera. You do use these wrestlers in your universe mode. Is there a particular reason for that, or here we go? You do use these wrestlers in your universe mode. When you initially started, because from what I was saying, it looks like it was even going back to like your early days of starting this thing too. Is there anyone who you maybe have thought about not using? Have you thought about using and said, never mind? Or were there any guys that you thought were just, I'm not going to use them at all, I don't care at any point? I'm not going to use these guys at any point.
Okay, that seemed like a maybe a two-part question. I'll answer.
Yes. Okay.
Why do I use him? It's
why?
The same
and then
thing.
is there anybody that you haven't?
Okay.
That you said no, I'm not going to use.
That's an easy answer. It's a video game. It's a video game. It's supposed to be fun. They have them there for a reason because people want to use these old wrestlers.
Right.
We want to have fun. I see it as when I would play a lot of NBA 2K with one of my buddies, and we would have these drafts. I play with my nephew, and we still do it sometimes. We'll have a draft, and we'll draft a team, each of us, and we'll use all the old players. We'll use, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal, Michael Jordan, Kobe, along with all the new guys. It's so fun, man. Like, you get there, and the old players mix with the new players. So I'm having Jordan versus Kobe, LeBron versus Julius Erving, or whatever. It's fun. The bottom line is just, I think it's fun. It's fun for me. It's fun for me, and if people like to see it, great. I think that most people have received it well, and they like seeing some of the old guys mixed with the new guys, and I love that, man. And I haven't even tapped into a bunch of dream matches that I could do, but going to that, Shawn Michaels versus AJ Styles, we'll never see that. We'll never see that in real life.
No.
But we're seeing it now, and in the video game, guess what? They're both in their prime. Ooh, and I put on one hell of a match with them. I get to see. I just worked on Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Goldberg. We never got that. We get to see it here. I maybe get to do one day Undertaker versus Sting or something like that. That people want to see. I'm actually working on Sting versus the Ultimate Warrior. That's going to be a match at SummerSlam. So things like that. It's fun, man. To answer your question, it's fun. And then the second part of that question, yes, and we all know what guy I have been hesitant to use, and I don't use him, and I have him downloaded. I've had him downloaded for a while now. Chris Benoit.
Right.
That is the only person, the only one. I've never thought about anybody else. That is the only one that I have said, man, should I use him or not? And we've talked about this off the air. Should I use him or not? And you've told me, and I'm like, you know what? I'm leaning towards using him, but I feel like then I have so many guys and so much stuff. I'm like, do I really need him?
Right.
If I'm up in the air, and I've been thinking that lately too, now thinking about it out loud as you're asking me this, I have so much guys and so much potential matches and dream matches and all that and 3 shows, and I'm like, do I really need him? And if I was going to put him in, it'd be somewhere like ECW.
Right.
But I don't know, man. I don't know because I don't know how it'll be received, first of all. I think most people will be okay with it because, again, it's a video game. It's just
I've seen it done. I've seen it done.
I'll go back and I'll watch some. If I'm watching a show, I'll watch a Chris Benoit match, and I can separate what he did in his life to whatever I'm watching on TV because that was before what he did, and he was a great wrestler and a great performer, and it would be awesome matches that I could put in with him. I could have him in ECW. I could see Chris Benoit versus Kenny Omega versus Adam Cole versus Brock Lesnar. Those will be fun matches to do. So I'm not opposed to ever bringing him in. I'm not opposed to ever doing it, but I haven't found the right time or I haven't felt, 100% on board with it that I haven't done it. But that's the only guy.
All right, hello, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. So we had to take a brief pause, hold on thing, but we are back. Last question I asked him was about the use of this deceased wrestler. Then you had a question you wanted to ask me.
Yeah, I wanted to put you on the hot seat. What are your thoughts about using someone specifically Chris Benoit? Deceased wrestlers or dead wrestlers, you want to call it, but specifically Chris Benoit.
I've seen it done before, and honestly, you were like one of the first guys I've seen use this wrestler before. So initially, I was like taken aback a little bit, but I'm like,
really?
But
why?
Because
Can I explore that? Why were you taken aback?
Sure, I was taken aback by a little bit because I'm like, surprised. I've never seen it. It was just more really a case of I've never seen it done. Like I've never seen it done before. Like you were like the first universe mode I've ever watched that ever used the Deceased wrestler. And then, but here's why I didn't mind.
Wait. So Mathwas and Murphs don't use. They don't, right?
Not that I've seen. No.
Huh. Okay.
Not that I've seen, no.
Okay.
Now, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but not that I've seen, no. So you were like one of the first wrestlers. One of the first wrestlers. You know, I might be speaking of future career of yours. Anyways, you were one of the first
past
people
career that I could have had. That's my misery, man. I miss my freaking calling. And you know what? We can get into that. You know that I did go to wrestling school. I almost did it, man. Almost did it.
Yeah, man. But
thank you.
No problem. But what I was saying was, like, you were one of the first people I've seen do it, and the way and the reason I was okay with it, because I'm like on I was like really listening to what you were gonna say on commentary, because like some people, they will use that moment on commentary, and I've told you some stories about some stuff I've heard about what people have said. So I was like, how is he going to handle this? And then once I heard that you've handled this with, like, you know, the care and respect that was needed, you didn't say anything outlandish, you didn't say anything crazy.
No, it's like they're still alive. They're part of the show.
That. Right, and that's the vibe I was getting. I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that. That's fine with me. Chris Benoit specifically, I've seen him used before. Now, this one was a bit of a. Now, you can argue this one was a bit of a kind of a catch-22, because it made sense given the era that he was doing. Shout out Dylan Tulin. Good God, the dude Ruthless Aggression Era Universe Boat was freaking awesome. I wish we got WrestleMania, man. Jay Gunny, I wish we got a WrestleMania show. That was about to be fire, but I guess some stuff happened. This and third, man. But
what happened? He's not doing it anymore now, or
no, not from what I've seen. I haven't done it. It
was pretty good.
He was good at this stuff, man. Yeah. Shout out Dylan Tulin, man. If you end up hearing this, bro, good work.
Yeah, come back, bud.
Real good work, man. But like, because he was doing the Ruthless Aggression Era Universe mode, so it made complete sense.
Of course.
Other than that, though, I haven't seen it done for probably some good reason. But then again, I did a GM mode in SmackDown vs. Raw. But then again, he was
you did.
alive.
You
I did a GM mode, and I drafted him actually onto my show. So
you did.
I mean, so if I wanted to, I'm pretty sure I could have went in and disabled him if I wanted to, but I didn't.
Right.
So
you didn't.
If someone's gonna do it, please have a level of common sense.
Right.
Please don't say anything stupid.
Right.
Please don't say anything that's like out of line, disrespectful, whatever the fucking deal.
Right. And go ahead. Sorry, no, I'll just go because you made a great point, and I think it's how you handle it. And again, thank you for, thank you for acknowledging that, how I handle the, deceased wrestlers. Like, to me, in the game, there's the video game. These are the characters in my video game, and I handle them like everybody is there. Everybody is there. Everybody's in their prime.
Right.
Everybody's there. Everybody's alive. They're all there, and I handle it in the show. I don't think I've ever mentioned anything about any of these guys being dead or anything that they did or anything like that. And I guess that's what would make, and you say it makes sense in Ruthless Aggression Era, it would make sense for me because he was in ECW, he was in WCW, and I have that old school vibe and feel in my show, so it would make sense to include him into the show. It would be fine. And I think I would handle it exactly how I handle all the other wrestlers. I would talk about him as a wrestler. I would talk about his in-ring work. I would talk about his accomplishments. I would talk about how his ruthless aggression in the ring and that. But you have to have, like you say, you have to have some tact, I guess, and some awareness to not cut a promo with him saying that he's going to kill somebody. Something like, I'm just putting an example of something that shouldn't be done. You're not going to go out there and be like, well, I'm going to kill you or murder your or something like that. That's distasteful, and that's not the way you handle someone like Chris Benoit. You make him part of the show, and you handle it like that, like he's just another wrestler, and you watch out what you say with him. Now if it's Kenny Omega out there saying, hey, I'm going to kill Adam Cole, okay, I could get away with that, but you need to have that. That's where that awareness and that understanding comes in of what you should and shouldn't do sometimes. Have some tact, man. Have some, awareness. So yeah,
you gotta have some tact, have some ploy, have some type of general wit about you. I personally wouldn't ever bring him on a show because I do more modern stuff anyway, so that's just me. But
would you bring him on the show if you were me? The show that I run, would you bring him on the show?
Dang. I think, given your, if I was working with your roster, I'm in that ballpark of I really don't need him.
Exactly, and that's why I think I've kept him up.
I'm in that ballpark of I really don't need him.
Yeah.
And admittedly, I always, I always kind of run with the motto of like, it's your show, do what you wish.
Right.
But a lot of people's feelings are really, really strong about Benoit and the stuff that he did.
And either way, and then you're going to have, let's say I use them and I have the chat going on. We're doing a live, I'm putting it out there, pay-per-view or show that we do that. We premiere it. That's what it's called. We premiere it.
Right.
When we premiere a show on YouTube and you have this chat, then it might take away from the show because people are going to start talking about either way, on either side, there's strong feelings about Chris Benoit, what he did and what he didn't do. And
so from a PR perspective.
Exactly. I want to leave that. Exactly. Like if I had a public relations, I have to be my own public relations person, and you actually serve a lot for me in that category and say, like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this or maybe you shouldn't do that. So I appreciate that. And I wouldn't. Because of that, I don't feel the need. And I know we've been back and forth, and I'm like, look, I have no problem using him. I don't think I'm doing anything wrong by using him, especially in the context that I use other deceased wrestlers in my show, and I think I would handle it with all the respect it deserves. But do I want to open up that Pandora's box? Do I want to go there? Do I want to do that? Do I need to? Like you said, do I need to do it? I have such a loaded roster and every damn show. I don't need to do that. And you're right. So I probably won't use them.
Right. And that's a good point. And let's kind of lighten things up a bit. We talked about some heavy stuff on here.
Yeah.
Let's lighten some stuff up.
This is not our forte, but we're usually having fun on the Best Damn Universe mode or on AOR and AOA.
Let's lighten this up a bit.
We've gone a little deep today, man. A little dark.
Let's lighten this up a bit. What do you feel are some of your best, this is going to be a different question. What do you feel, number one, are some of your best moments that you've had on your show?
Oh, man.
Moments. Like segments, like any segments that stand out to you, any promo that stand out to you. What are some of your best moments?
One that stands out immediately, and I know you have loved this as well, is when we did Eric Young versus Aleister Black, and the story, that I told the story that I set it up. I set up this story for us to tell, and we picked it up like that beautifully, and I got to give you all that credit. You picked it up too, and we told that great story. The ending of that match. Like, it wasn't the greatest match that I've had, but it was just story-wise, it was so, I think, beautifully done. Not to pat myself on the back, but beautifully done. And then the way you handled it on commentary, like amazing. So that's one of my. I don't know if you want to say anything on that.
I thought it was a great. I thought it was a solid match, and WrestlePalooza was a baller show for real.
Right. Then we had the Kenny Omega versus. Going to that show. I mean, that show. I think all my ECW shows, we've had 2 pay-per-views so far. I'm going to the third one. Both those pay-per-views, I really, really am proud of those 2 pay-per-views entirely. I think that WrestlePalooza was great from the opening match to the Kenny Omega versus, and the way that I told Dad that it was supposed to be Marty Scurll coming out. He waves it, Adam Cole leaves, and then Kenny Omega comes out, and he got the Bullet Club. He wanted the Bullet Club member. He got him, and they were, and that match just tore the house down. People loved it. On the chat, I'm not just saying that because I loved it, and you loved it. People loved that match. Yeah. And to have that kind of match and still have the show be good after that and get to the main event, and the main event lived up to the damn hype, and you can go and say, hey, which one was your favorite match? It could have been either one. It could have been Kenny Omega and that in the middle of the show, or it could have been Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar, which again told a great story, and you again killed it. A lot of not to blow smoke up your ass, but a lot of I'll give you credit where credit's due, man. A lot of the moments that I've had on Universe Mode that have been great have been commentating with you. The way that you started that Paul Heyman thing and calling out Paul Heyman and setting, I didn't have that in mind. I did not have that in mind to go that far with Paul Heyman being so protective of Lesnar and that. I had some idea of that, but just you playing it off on commentary, and that's the great part of being creative and doing this, that you can go with the flow, and something's, you said something, let me roll with that, or we bounce an idea off each other, or something works out in a match, and I've left it there where it's a glitch, it's something I didn't plan. But you know what, I'll leave it there because I could get something out of this. Right. And that moment, that Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar was a great moment, a great way that you commentary, and anything that has been with me, you, and Paul Heyman, and then me defending Paul Heyman, and you going against Paul Heyman. That has been gold. I love that part. So that has been some of my favorite moments there. If we go into matches, what great matches, I always go back to.
That was about to be my next question. I was about to say, here we go. Top 5. Thank you for your kind words, by the way. Thank you.
No problem.
Top 5 matches. Go.
Jeez, you're putting me on the spot, man. I haven't seen my stuff in a long time.
That's fine.
I still would put Shawn Michaels versus AJ Styles number 1.
Ooh, yeah. Oh yeah.
I think I would put that match number 1. It took me a long time doing it, and I remember doing like in pieces, man. The beginning, I did the middle part was just more flowing, and then I did the end. But I got so many spots that I wanted to get. And just a story that I feel like, again, it's always, to me, comes back to the story. I love the storytelling part, even in a match. The way that I had none of these guys hit their finishing move until the end.
Yeah, and
none
they
of
hit
them
each
hit
other.
their damn finishing move. They stole each other's finishers.
Right.
They stole each other's submission moves. They stole each other. AJ Styles hit the Sweet Chin Music. Shawn Michaels hit the Styles Clash. They did not hit any of their finishing moves until the end of that match, and just AJ Styles flying to go for the phenomenal form. He hadn't hit it in the match. He gets caught with the super kick. Boom, it's over. I thought it was, I loved it. That was
fantastic.
I would put that at number 1, but there are so many other ones that could be close to there. And again, I would put both of those matches from that I just talked about, WrestlePalooza. I would put Kenny Omega versus Adam Cole right there at maybe 2. And then Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar at 3, because I thought that was a great match.
Okay.
I would still put, even though I thought it was too long, I would put Triple H and The Rock, because again, the story behind it and the way I handled it and the way that it was just, I just love how it was in the ending of it, and I had Triple H go by, the suck it sign as he's going up, and people chanting and all that. Like, I thought I did it well, so I would put that up there. So that's about 4 matches. You told me 5. Let me think a little bit.
I can think of one that I'm surprised you haven't said yet. I'm not gonna say it though.
I know it's no tag team match because I haven't been proud of none of my tag team matches. I really enjoyed from also Money in the Bank, Hogan and Roman Reigns in a steel cage. I thought that was very underrated.
Okay.
By myself, I would say that's underrated myself. I thought that was a decent match and a good story again.
Okay.
And I love the ending, how just Reigns just fell into my call. Reigns just fallen into the,
that was a
the WWE Championship, because he didn't beat Hogan, he just fell into it.
Right, that was a good call. Now, you want me to tell you the match that I was talking about now, since you kind of gave your 5?
Give me a hint. Is it WWE, WCW, or ECW?
ECW.
Oof. Man. I mean, all the Ty Dillinger matches have been fun as hell. Not the best matches, but really fun. Those are, you talk about the moments again, those moments. I think ECW has been some of my favorite moments because of our interaction back and forth. Man. And can I say something before you say this match? Because going back to a moment, I'll always hold it dear, maybe because of the first shows I did, but those tournaments I did at the beginning to crown the WCW champion and crown the WWE champion, I really love those tournaments. It just captured like my enthusiasm and how I wanted to start it, and I just love those moments. I just love those moments in that match. And I remember having even fun matches, even computer versus myself, fighting the computer. I even had some good moments. I remember CM Punk versus was it Goldberg, that he kept countering that spear over and over with the DDT. And I'm like, Goldberg's so stubborn, and it was fun. It was fun, man. I liked it. So you said, so it's ECW. Was it a pay-per-view?
Yes. Now you've only had 2 of them.
I have. Oh, damn. Again, Kenny Omega versus Adam Cole in that street fight, man. There you go. That's number 5. And that might actually be even, that's up there because it was long as hell and it told that story. It was like grudge match kind of thing. That was up there with like Rock and Triple H and in that kind of environment. That was a good match. And damn, I can't believe I didn't remember that. What did you like about that match?
Dude, first, like, this felt like a completely different match than we saw with Kenny and Adam Cole from WrestlePalooza.
and I wanted to do that.
This
so thank you.
felt like a completely different match from that.
Because did I capture that element that I wanted to capture of like, this is not, before it was a wrestling match. Yeah. Now this was a street fight because of what Adam Cole did to Kenny Omega, you know? He was out to kill him.
Captured that like a drum. And let's not also forget Kenny Omega hitting Adam Cole with like eight of those. Like, there was a section of the match. No joke. He picked him up. He picked Adam Cole up and hit him with like 8 knee strikes in a row.
Yes.
Picked him up.
Yes.
Ran.
Yes.
Bam. Hit him. Picked him up. Hit him again. Hit him again. I'm like, he's going to kill him.
And then at the end, wasn't it Adam Cole hit him with like a few last shots before he was like, he got a little cocky, get up, and then boom, low blow, which led to my favorite line, payback is a bitch.
1 Winged Angel, we was out, man, but that to me.
And I'm protecting that finisher, man. I want to do like, he does it in real life, and I want to certain finishers I want to really protect. That was one of them. I'm like, I think it's special how he does it in real life, and I wanted to handle it well there too. I don't want anybody just kicking out of that 1 Winged Angel.
Good. I'm pretty sure AEW diehards will be happy to hear that.
I'm sure they will.
So we're talking about this show. You've had great moments, matches. Yeah. I'm happy to be sitting with you for some of them. Are there any moments on the show that may have happened that you kind of think in hindsight, okay, that kind of sucked. Let's not do that again? Any moment, booking decisions?
I don't do anything that sucks. I don't do anything that sucks. I don't know what you're talking about.
You gotta have something now.
Man, if we go back early on, it was a lot. Actually, it was a lot more with that.
You talked
when I was doing computer versus myself. I had a lot of those moments. Like, damn, I didn't want to do that. Or I remember, one thing. I don't like the way that I handled, and I could have got a lot better. And I did this in WWE 2K14, and I had great matches with CM Punk versus Stone Cold, and I dropped the ball on that feud. I really dropped the ball on that feud. I had a cage match. I had one match with them, and then I had the cage match. I think, CM Punk won the tournament finals against Stone Cold to become the first WCW champion. It wasn't anything spectacular. It was a okay match, but I'm like, okay, I could get some good matches out of these guys. I had a follow-up in a cage where I think Austin beat him. I didn't want Austin to beat him. Right. I wanted CM Punk to win, and I did that match like I think 3 or 4 times, and I could not get a match that I was really happy with.
Yeah.
So I was okay with that. And again, this was me still doing, and that's why, ladies and gentlemen, it sucks to do player versus AI, human versus AI, because I tried to do that a few times, didn't get it. If I would... That's where I dropped the ball, because that's a big feud that I wanted to get more out of, and maybe one day I'll revisit it to make up for that. But if you talk about that, I hate how I dropped the ball on that feud, and that's why maybe I just moved Punk out of there and like let's start him new in ECW and get him away from this, because it just left a very, very bad taste in my mouth how I handled that.
Now, speaking of stuff leaving a bad taste, I'm asking you this because I've legit never asked you this question before on or off camera. You've mentioned WCW Slammiversary several times in comment sections or whatever as one of your least favorite pay-per-views or events or shows that you've ever put on. What happened?
I got one good match out of it. Again, this is all me versus the computer. So I'm going to give myself a little slack for that. But I got one good match of it. I love how Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels played out. I love that match. That was one of my early versus the computer, one of my favorite matches. I really loved that match. I liked it. I really did. But besides that, I don't know. It was just... It felt boring. It felt flat. I even forgot what the hell the main event was. Was the main event... I think the main event was Stone Cold versus Punk, man. I think I got 3. Now, I haven't looked at that pay-per-view in so long because I was so disappointed in it. Let me go back. If you could give me a minute, I'm going to pull it here because I have it written down, actually, and I'll go over the card right now, and if you don't mind.
Okay, cool. Feel free. We're going to go over the card, ladies and gentlemen, while you getting everything pulled up here. That is a public service announcement. We would like to issue a general public service announcement to stay hydrated, kids. And
yes, I have my bottle of water right here, but I'm drinking it also with the Coke Zero. So I don't know if that balances it out, you know?
I guess. Why you get that point?
You stole one of my lines, man.
Had the perfect time to do it.
You're allowed.
The perfect time to do it.
That was perfect. Okay, so I have it pulled up. Ricky Steamboat started the match out with Eddie Guerrero. This was for the United States Championship.
Right.
Eddie won the title. Nothing special. I don't know. Then I had Kurt Angle versus Goldberg. I had Goldberg win that match. Again, the match was nothing special. Hardy Boys versus Gallows and Anderson for the tag team titles. A Bullet Club wins the titles.
Actually, okay.
I don't even. I mean, look, the card was good. The card I think, was good. Then I had Ric Flair with Arn Anderson and Ric Flair with Arn and Larry. Okay, with Arn, that's when I had him teaming up with Arn Anderson and Larry Sabisco versus Finn Balor. So it was Ric Flair versus Finn Balor. Balor wins via pin. Again, these are all. If I had this same card, and I'll go back to why I hate it, because if I had this same card and I wasn't doing AI. I wasn't doing it versus the AI. I think this card would be great. Because then I had Shawn Michaels versus Hulk Hogan. That was a great match. I thought that was a classic. That was good.
Was it better than the SummerSlam 2005 match? Was Shawn flopping around like a dead fish in that match, or what?
Sometimes I think Hulk Hogan was flopping around a little more in that match than Michaels was. Hulk Hogan was a bloody mess, man. But Michaels just ran him out of WCW, man. And Hulk Hogan didn't show up for a while until he showed up on Raw.
Oh wow!
Michaels just embarrassed him. Yeah. Nice. I think he kicked out of I don't know how many legs or something like that, or he put him through a table. I forgot what it was. It was a street fight. It was fun.
Oh, okay, good.
If you guys want to go back and see this horrible pay-per-view, don't. But if you do, just go back and watch Shawn versus Hogan, and I think I have it up as a separate match, so you could actually just see it that way.
I might do a live
anyway, then after that, it was the Women's Championship Fatal 4-Way. Horrible match. Paige won that one. It was Paige, Sasha Banks, Brie Bella, and Alundra Blaze. And then, the main event, this is where I think I was most disappointed, because the main event, again, was CM Punk versus Stone Cold. This was the rematch from the tournament match, which I was fine. I'm like, look, I'm the tournament versus AI. I did it again, though, and it was CM Punk with Paul Heyman and... What? What did I... Oh, he was with Paul Heyman and Samoa Joe. I think the referee threw out Samoa Joe. I think he threw out Paul Heyman or something like that. Okay. And Austin ended up winning. Again, I didn't want Austin to win, and I don't know why I ran with it. And maybe I hate that decision, or I just, again, I hate... Now looking back at it, and you asked me that question, I didn't know a lot before. I thought it was just because of the AI thing, but there's other pay-per-views. I think the King of the Ring, I did a lot of AI, and I didn't hate it as much.
I remember King of the Ring being really good.
I thought King of the Ring was good. Because I did a couple of matches. I didn't do the AI versus a couple of matches, especially the main event was all just me versus myself, player versus player. Yeah. Was Undertaker and Roman Reigns, and I had that good story. The Usos came involved, which, thank you, WWE, for stealing the bloodline from me. The Roman Empire, same thing.
Give him his royalty check.
Give me my royalty checks. But I think, to cut it short, man, to just say Slammiversary, I think it was mostly that. It was the main event. I just hated how I dropped the ball with CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I hate that happened. Because that was such a big feud that I ended my WWE 2K days with, and I did 2 WrestleManias back to back where both these guys fought. One time it was for the championship, one time it wasn't, and then the next time it was for the championship. And even in 2K14, I got great matches out of that, and I was so disappointed in the matches that I got from them. Those two. This was Slammiversary, was the second one, and then I did a cage match on Nitro that Austin won again, and it just felt so flat. It didn't feel like what I wanted it. So I think that's why, man. That main event, if the main event doesn't live up to the hype, or I'm very disappointed in the main event, I don't like the pay-per-view, or I don't like the show. And I think after that I took it real seriously, and having my main events mean something and having them be good, whatever type of match it is, whether it's a technical or something like Brock Lesnar and Samoa Joe, where they're just beating the hell out of each other, or that street fight with Omega and Adam Cole. Sorry, Omega and Adam Cole. And going to that, I don't mind, and I know we've talked about this before. Sorry if I keep going, but we talked about, does the championship always have to main event? Some people are very adamant the championship always has to main event, and I'm in line with that. Most of my main events are a championship match, but I felt that match, Adam Cole and Kenny Omega would steal the show. I'm like, this has to be the main event, you know. So I opened the show up with Brock Lesnar defending the championship, and I thought it was a good decision.
It was a good decision. It was overall a good show, and Slammiversary did kind of prove and show that, you know, you can learn. You can grow from your stuff. I was really Barry Cockerell, and I did a watch along to it. I hated every minute of it, but I did it. But, you know, I did. But if it gives you a chance to kind of learn and grow. And I was real curious about Slammiversary because, like, you've always mentioned it. Yeah. But I've never had the chance to hear you talk about it. Or
right. And I didn't even think about it that much, but looking at the card and over it, I'm like, okay, some of these matches were decent, and Hogan versus Michael was good, but I think it was always that. It was CM Punk, Austin. I'll go back to that. If you ask me that question again, what do you, now it's in my mind fresh, and I'll be like, yeah, the one thing I hate about my Universe mode, the way I handled that feud. And you talk about learning. I didn't learn until 2 pay-per-views after, because I also did the Japan Super Show after that, and I thought that was better, even though I still did it versus the AI.
Right.
I thought that one was better. In the main event, I remember it was a big, like, 4-man elimination match between Bullet Club and the Click. So that was fun. You know, it could have. These matches are hard to do. You know, the 4-on-4 or 3-on-3 are hard to do. But I thought it was fun, and it ended well. Even though it was AI versus AI, I ended it with Michaels and Balor were the last 2 in the ring, and it was a good ending. So I was happy with that main event, and that's why I guess I don't hate that show as much as Slammiversary, even though neither of them I thought were great. And then that's what I loved the Great American Bash, because that was the next one after that, and that just, I mean, that was awesome to me. Like, almost every match on there was great.
I got 2 more questions, and we're going to get up out of here.
Let's do it.
I got 2 more questions, we're going to get up out of here. To me, I thought Great American Bash, money across each show. Great American Bash, Money in the Bank, WrestlePalooza. Those 3 shows were like the best pay-per-views you've done across those 3 particular brands.
And they were, I think, one after the other. I was hitting my stride at that moment. I felt really creative at that moment. Yeah.
So I will ask you, which show out of those 3, how would you list them?
Man, that's so hard, because I like each show. Each show was great, but for different reasons. If you tell me which one had the best wrestling matches, that I'm proud of the storytelling in the match itself and had the best matches, I would maybe have to say,
all 3 shows were freaking fantastic. Just for the record, all 3 shows were freaking fantastic. I just want to put them on the spot and get them thinking.
I'm not just saying it to blow smoke up my own ass, but and I appreciate you doing it. But I got good feedback in the chats, and everybody reached out after and said, "Man, these shows are great. Like, they were really, really, really good." But again, they're all good for different reasons. For me, and I'm my own worst critic, I think they all could have been better in some way. But I would say, and it's so hard to ask that question, but let me put it this way. If it's in the ring, like I was saying, if it's in-ring work and the matches, I would maybe go with the Great American Bash, because it had... I mean, we started off with the cage match, Bray Wyatt versus Goldberg. I thought that was a decent match. For a cage match, I thought it was decent, and I loved the end of it. How we both pissed in our pants with Bray Wyatt and his demonic things that he was doing.
You did, I did.
Right. So that match was good, and then we had Macho Man Randy Savage versus Eddie Guerrero. If we didn't have Michaels versus AJ Styles after that match, could have been match of the night. That was a good match. It was False Count Anywhere. And again, the way the story told, where Eddie Guerrero had, I think, dumped Macho Man over the top of the stage in earlier episodes of Nitro, and then Macho's coming out like he escaped the hospital, he's all wrapped up, bandaged up, and then he throws him off the stage, drops an elbow again, payback is a bitch line comes in. I love that match, and the ending especially. What else did we have? We had the women's match, and I think that's where Paige lost the title, right, to Lacey Evans, and Lacey Evans knocked her out. That was pretty good. We had the tag team match. It was fun with the bar, right, getting destroyed, and Hawk and Animal got no offense in that match. That was funny. I thought that was great. And then, of course, you had Shawn Michaels versus AJ Styles, just, to me, one of my favorite, if not the favorite match. So in-ring war, and then Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Balor.
Pretty good, man.
I look back and my critical self says, man, this match could have been better. But again, I like how I ended it, and it was Demon Balor coming in. We didn't know it was going to be Demon Balor. Demon Balor comes in. I think we started off with a Stone Cold Stunner or something like that.
That was like one of the first things in the match, hitting the match.
Yeah, it started off good. So I thought that was a good match too. So overall, they had more good matches than that. I really liked the Great American Bash. If I said which show was the most fun, WrestlePalooza.
Oh, yeah.
WrestlePalooza was fun, man. It was fun. The ladder match with the Young Bucks and Undisputed Era was crazy. Again, the Kenny Omega match was just to have two. That show, you know what? Thinking of it now, that has to be maybe number one because they had two of the best matches I've had overall in my universe mode in one show. Right. Brock Lesnar and Samoa Joe, and then Kenny Omega and Adam Cole. So that might be number one, and it was fun as hell. That might be number one. I would put Great American Bash at 2, and then I would put Money in the Bank, just because I think it was a little too long. I could have cut a match here or there, or cut some time from that. I think the event, that was probably my longest event. I think it was almost 4 hours. It was like 3.5 or 4, but it had some good matches. Had a good main event with Hogan in the cage with Reigns. I had The Rock versus Triple H in that long match, which was great. The loser leaves town. We had, what was the other match I had? I had a women's triple threat that was the best triple threat that I've had. I think
had New Day versus what, the Demolition, was it?
I think it was New Day versus Edge and Christian. Edge and Christian, I believe it was.
New Day versus Edge and Christian. That match was an underrated.
That was good.
Banger.
That was maybe one of my best tag team matches. That I don't do well with tag team matches. I've been hard on myself for that. But that was one of my favorite tag team matches. And then, Money in the Bank. Of course, you had the Money in the Bank ladder match, which
and the story you were telling throughout the entire time.
I like how I did the story. The guys kept dropping out. It started out with like 6 guys, and then Ambrose was attacked at the beginning. Seth Rollins had been attacked already. He was out of the match from the beginning of the show. He comes out when the match is going to start. Ted DiBiase's the first guy to come out. DiBiase's planned all this. Seth Rollins comes out, attacks him, destroys him, takes him out of the match. So we're down to 3 guys. We're down to Okada, Kevin Owens, and Bobby Roode, right?
And I like what you did there by technically making it a triple threat TLC match. That was clever.
And I did it. I'm gonna be honest here. I did it. I thought I could tell a good story.
Yeah.
But I thought that controlling 3 guys in that ladder match would tell a better story. I was being lazy too in that way. I'm like, you know what? Let me not. And I didn't want to do it like I did the women's. At the women's match, I just let the computer play themselves. Okay. I don't know if I told you that or something, but that was the only match that I just said, I'm going to let it play out and see what happens. Yeah. And I liked that there were spots, and I liked that they told the story. There was only one ladder involved in that match the entire time.
Poor Natalia.
One ladder, and Natalia got a beating with it, and I was fine with the winner of the match. And I'm like, okay, this wasn't bad, so I left it. I was like, I'm gonna leave it, so I was happy with that. Computer versus computer, and it was well. And then the other Money in the Bank I thought was done well too with the men's. I liked the story that I told, and again, a little laziness there maybe, but it worked out, and I thought it was something different. So I wanted to do something different and be like, okay, how could I make it different?
Right.
3 guys in Money in the Bank, and it told the story of these other guys getting attacked, and I'm gonna build on that and have it evolve into like SummerSlam. So that should be fun.
Good. That's good. That's all good stuff. Good. I asked that question for a reason because I know you and I both know we're both our own worst critics out here. It was kind of good, and it was kind of
that's why it takes me so long to do a show too. God.
I don't know. I'm right there with you. But yeah, that's why I kind of asked that question because I kind of wanted the people to hear that. Yeah. He does some good stuff, and he's going to tell you why, and I'm going to sit here and co-sign it. So he's going to tell you why. I'm going to sit here and co-sign it.
Let me ask you this if I can. I know we're running short on time, but let me ask you this real quick, because you've been blowing smoke up my ass, and I blow smoke up your ass. But we've been critical of each other too, and we appreciate the constructive criticism. Right. I know to me it was the Austin versus CM Punk feud that just eats me alive. I hate that, and I hate the way that I did AI versus AI versus human for a little too long. I wish I would have done it earlier and made these better pay-per-views, but we already see these 3 pay-per-views are great, fantastic. What is some of the worst stuff that I've done? What is something that you've seen that I've done that you're like, he could have done that better, or this was horrible, or I'm fine, I could take it.
I don't think I've had anything I thought was horrible per se. From my viewing, I'll say maybe the Bullet Club versus UE stuff on ECW. I'm trying to figure out where the heck the end goal is for this. where the end zone is for them. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out where the end zone is for this. Because it's been going on since I've been watching, which means it's probably been going on technically longer than that. So at this point,
I've got some good stuff with Omega and Adam Cole out of it. But your question is then where does it stay? And this is what I like about you and I appreciate about you is that we talk about these things back, and you if anything, you've given me more of like long-term booking. You're like, hey, where are you going with this? I'm having fun with it at the moment. I'm thinking, but sometimes I lose track of that long-term booking. There are things that I plan out, and I'm like, exactly. How do I close the book on that? Well, I'm not gonna say it here, but I have a couple of ideas, and we could talk about it off the air.
Yeah, that's cool. So you're gonna have to sit back and watch. And that's really it. I've kind of dig what you've done with CM Punk. You brought him in, made him look like a big deal. The Sanity stuff that developed recently, that's been pretty cool. I'm trying to think.
What do you think about what I've done with Brock Lesnar? Because I know people didn't. I was doing this at a time where Brock Lesnar was on TV having these short matches or having these matches and looked like sometimes he didn't try unless he was in there with like an AJ Styles or Daniel Bryan. People were hating on Brock and having this long title reign. How do you think I presented Brock Lesnar? What would you do different? You've
got Brock trying. That's an instant. People are going to pay attention now because you have Brock full time. You have him trying. Yes, it's still the same thing as like he was Paul Heyman. So I can see maybe that being a little bit of a turnoff to people. However, the catch is you haven't made Brock look completely unbeatable. We've talked about this with Roman Reigns a bit. We've talked about this with Roman Reigns, and that's a different podcast for a different day. Chat, tune in over there. But
we're gonna get into that.
Yeah, you haven't made him look completely unbeatable, and so by knowing that Brock can be beaten, and we've seen Brock look weak at times.
Right.
It adds this element of, oh, this is going to be good. Now I can't wait to see him beat. And so now you got people behind Samoa Joe that's ready to see him do his thing.
Right, I think people really wanted Samoa Joe to win the title that time at WrestlePalooza, and they were a little pissed off. And I don't remember if Aleister Black, people were after Black too, and they wanted him to take the title. I think there was. I don't know if it was Cole or someone else, and they were like, oh, man, he won again. But again, I mean, Aleister Black took it to him, man. He doesn't, I don't want to make Brock Lesnar look like that like on TV. He's already, I think I made him look like a beast. He's still a beast.
Yeah.
But it's competitive. I mean, you're fighting guys who are Samoa Joe's legit badass. Aleister Black, legit. You're having Killian Dane, who's a big dude. Like, you don't want to make him look, unbeatable in that way. I think even RVD competed against him in one of our main events that I had. It was a competitive match. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I guess one final thing. I think everybody struggled with this one. I'm struggling with this one too currently. So
Shane Douglas.
I can't be
I'm just playing.
You know what? We end the podcast here. Podcast over. The women's division.
Yeah. What do you mean?
The women's division is there. I'm trying to see if we got any type of storyline going on right now.
Oh, you're talking about in ECW? Because I haven't handled. And you know what? Maybe this is. Look, I'm going to put myself out there just like I said the things that I said at the beginning that I would say, things that I've said, especially in your show in AOR, that I've done these sexual innuendos and that. I think I've handled the women in my universe more with respect. And, I've had some good matches, man. I've had China, like that triple threat match was good. China, Charlotte, and now I'm forgetting the third. Trish. Yeah. So I've had them, and I know I'm trying to include now other new people. I think I'm having a number one contenders, Beth Phoenix and Becky Lynch or something like that. I want Kairi Sane. So I think on Raw, the women's division is pretty strong, and I like China as a champion. She's a legit champion. And I have a lot of people there with Money in the Bank is Natalia, right? And we got Beth Phoenix.
Right.
And I say, again, Kairi Sane. So I'm doing good there, and I've told some stories with Charlotte and Trish and China. So I'm fine there, but I don't know, man. Maybe in WCW it's the same thing. I'm now with Paige and Lacey Evans. That was good. She knocked her out and she cheated to get the title. So I'm trying to get something there. I haven't really done a lot I think I've had good women at the top, like strong women at the top, like Asuka. Asuka's the champion there. She's had battles against Nia Jax and then against Awesome Kong. So I made Asuka look really good as a champion at the top, but the division as a whole, yeah, they're all suffering. I think except Raw. I think they were all suffering, and that's me not having the time to include. There's so much superstars and so many guys to include everybody there, and I don't know how to say this without people are gonna say, "Oh, well, you're sexist, you don't like." But I've honestly,
no, that's the thing. I get it.
I don't enjoy like women's wrestling as much as seeing the guys wrestle. I feel like I could tell better story. But I have had good matches with the women. But it's not my thing. It's like watching. Like I always tell people, I don't watch the WNBA because it's women playing basketball. I just don't watch it because I don't think it's a good product compared to the NBA. I'm sorry, So it's like it's my universe mode. I haven't invested the time in the women's division, but I'm trying to do it on Raw. Like I said, I've tried to do it on WCW. I am trying a little bit more in ECW. I did it. I'm top heavy, and I've done it there. And I think I've included them, and I had them in a pre-show with this 3-on-3 tag team match, and I'm trying to get them there. So is there? I guess what you're asking is what's going on, like where there's no good storylines of that, and that's a great legit point. And you know what? Just like my tag team suffer too. I'm sorry, I haven't paid attention to. I'm guilty of this. Like I complain about WWE doing this, but I've done this with tag teams and women's division. I've been paying more attention to like main event and then other storylines with other guys that I haven't paid that much attention to the women's division or tag team wrestling. So that's a great observation, man.
Man, not wrong, mate. But hey. It happened. We all learn. We all grow. We all improve.
Right.
And so the final culmination is where can people go? And actually, no, not where can people go, because I'm already going to provide the answer to that. Why is your universe mode? I'm going to allow you to say this one. The best universe mode.
I think we've already talked about it, so I'm not going to get into everything. I think that by listening, just listening to us and saying that, just go back. If you want to see why it's the best, go back and watch WrestlePalooza. Watch Heat Wave in ECW. Go back and watch Money in the Bank. Go back and watch the Great American Bash. And tell me that I don't provide some of the best storytelling, and I don't just mean stories like storylines, but storytelling within a match where we can tell a story, not just me and you commentating, which we do a great job of.
Yeah.
I think I'm one of the, I'm sorry, but I think I'm one of the best commentators out there on YouTube.com. I'm up there with, I love what Murphs does. I love the Mathway. I think I'm better than Mathway's at commentary. Murphs does his thing, so I'm not going to say I'm better than Murphs, but I think I'm up there, man. I think I'm up there as a commentator. And you, my friend, you are very knowledgeable, and you're a great commentator as well. So when we're together there, that's why the ECW shows are fire. And you have been commentating, too. You did commentating on the Great American Bash as well. So, again, commentary is great. And the matches, the storytelling in the matches is fantastic. I'll criticize. Could my editing be better? Could I improve the look of it and the look? Yes, I can still improve, but I don't think the aesthetics are bad enough to try to derail, to be like, well, they're really bad. It's not. It's still good, and I've worked on some of the editing. I think Money in the Bank and the ECW shows, especially Heatwave and Money in the Bank, I can see how I've kicked up my editing and using highlight reels and things like that to make it look better. Mm-hmm. But besides that, man, that's what makes it the best is that my creativity and the storytelling and the commentating. And you just get that, man. You get some genuine commentating, and it's fun. It's fun.
Awesome. That's awesome. And at the end of the day, if you go over there and you don't like it, you can watch some other crap. So with that being said,
I'm done.
So with that being said,
thank you, my friend.
My man, it was great to have you on. It was great, and kind of just talk about everything that's been going on within the past year or so. Anything you want to go ahead and get off your chest real quick before we head out?
I've talked a lot, man. Just everybody just stay safe out there, and thanks for the support. Thanks everybody for the support, man. We are a small community of us who are trying to grow, and I just want to say, you know what? I'm gonna get to those 1,000 subs, man. By hook or by crook, I am good. That was my goal from the beginning. I don't know how long I'm gonna continue this. I hope I can continue for a long time. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know if I'm just going to do podcasting and maybe one day drop Universe. I have no idea where it's going to go, but I know I want to continue doing it, and I know that I will reach those 1,000 subs. So support, man. Go to my channel, tell people about it. And again, if you like it, great. If you like it, watch it. And if you like, I'm not going to force anybody. I'm not going to tell you, yeah, hit the thumbs up and like it. No, if you do it genuinely, and just have a good time, guys. And thank you again for all the support, and thank you, boss man.
Not a problem. Glad to have you on. Until the next time we see you guys, be a boss, and we will holler at you guys later.